If you feel like you are losing your mind and you are scattered, like your thoughts are going back and forth like a game of ping pong, then this one is for you. In this video, we are going to discuss why you feel scattered between the ideas that you have and what's actually going on in your business. So I invite you to take my 2-minute Are You the Bottleneck quiz to find out who or what is slowing down your progress. And if you like this kind of content, I invite you to check out my Fear Chronicles podcast, False Evidence Appearing Real, where we dive into this a lot more, all things private practice and mindset. So when I had my private practice, my baseline was scattered. So I had scattered thoughts, I had scattered projects, I had scattered marketing, I had scattered work blocks, literally all the things. So it was like one day bled into the next, and I was on that never ending hamster wheel, right? I think we all know this, where I was doing all of these things and nothing was happening. And it was like I would get this great idea and then I'd start implementing said idea. And then by the end of the day or even the next day, I'd be like, that's a terrible idea. I don't know what I was thinking. And I'd scrap the whole thing. So it was really difficult to maintain like any sort of consistency because I just would like have these ideas and then this vision that I wasn't executing on. And so it just was very confusing. And we're going to talk about this. So I want you to ask yourself, do I notice a pattern when I am taking on a new idea or task? And what is my ability then when I follow through? Do I follow through on new things that I want to implement, what I see for my business? I know that was just a lot of questions, but I want to rephrase it in a few different ways so it makes sense for you. Now, if I do feel like I'm not following through on new ideas or parts of my business, what do I feel like the reason or the cause is? Okay. That's a lot of questions, but it's going to make more sense as we dive in. So, when I talk about like my own journey, and I almost felt like I had multiple personalities. And the actuality of it is like, we essentially do. We have different voices in our head that are telling us one thing and then telling us another thing. And so sometimes we get these grand ideas and then either we don't do anything with them or we do. And then, we start to doubt ourselves or we start to do these things. And so there are different voices at any given time. It's almost thinking like, you got the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. There's so many different versions or voices in our head. And of course, we're not crazy, but sometimes it feels like we are because, like I said, I could be doing one thing and then totally flip and scrap it the next minute, right? So, and there's reasons for this. And so I haven't decided what I'm going to title this video, but we are going to talk about having an advisory board meeting. And this meeting is with the voices in your head because there's more than one. And the voices I'm going to talk about today, this is definitely not an all-inclusive list. This tends to be just like the most popular ones. I can attest that these are all me, different versions, different voices that I've had in my head. And I've talked about them in different capacities. And we're going to talk about them in the realm of voices in our heads today for the sake of this video. So we're going to call them archetypes because that just may sound better than talking about multiple voices and personalities. It's not even it's just voices, but these archetypes. And we're going to kind of separate them out because it's going to make more sense the way I'm going to explain it. So all these voices they're you. You don't have different people in your head. They're all you. And some of them are really loud and overpowering the other voices. And you may find these other voices are kind of softer and like, do the thing. And we're gonna talk about that because it's all normal, especially as we're betting on ourselves as business owners and we're scaling and we're doing things or we're betting on ourselves and we're doing things we haven't done before. And a lot of things come up with that when we do things like this. So we're going to talk about what, we may be giving more weight to than others when it comes to these archetypes. So the archetypes we're going to talk about today, I'm going to segment them one into ego and the others into expansive. So then you'll start to notice once you're more aware, right? Awareness is always the first step of what's happening, because two things can be true at once, right? And many things can be true at once. You can really want to do a thing, but then also be really fearful of doing this new thing that you've never done before. And so you're going to have different voices in your head. You'll have one voice in your head that's saying, like, go do the thing. And another one that's like, no, no, something bad is going to happen. So the first few that we're going to talk about are more on the ego side of things. So these are where, self-preservation and keeping us safe, right? So we've got our famous perfectionist, right? The one that really is trying to keep you safe. It's that voice that's like, you can't do your billing just right. We gotta, it's the when then, it's the analysis paralysis, it's the one that's the time sucker that says don't do it again, it's not perfect, it's not like it's supposed to be. It's the voice that that you don't want to fail. So you can't make a mistake. People are going to judge you. Oh my gosh, right? That voice, that voice is pretty loud a lot of the time, right? And how much weight are we giving to that voice? And then we've got the taskmaster. This is the overachiever, right? This is the one that goes above and beyond, the one that says, oh, you're just not doing enough. You got to work harder. You got to work longer hours. You got to do the things. This is the one that's saying you got to outwork everyone if you want to be the best, right? And that voice is also very loud. The one that's like, you don't want to be, just the average Joe. You don't want to be mediocre. You want to be overlooked. So you overperform, right? What's the opposite of that? We're just going to do more. That's the obvious solution, right? And that's the voice that's making you do all these things. And you know what those things end up being? The non-needle moving tasks. So you're super busy and not seeing any results. This was me for years, right? So then we've got the comparer, which I coined comparisonitis, right? So this is contagious. This voice is the one that's always looking around at everybody else, right? And saying, look at her. Look at your competitors. Look, they're doing so much better than you. They're crushing it over there. What are you doing? You're nowhere near there, right? And you're behind. And that, you should be further along than you are because you've been doing this for however long. And that's that voice that's yapping in your head that's super loud, super annoying, and is saying that you are just not enough, right? And comparing to everyone else. This voice is very reactive, right? This voice is like the one that's like bracing for impact, like something horrible is going to happen right now because look at it. Look at everything around you, right? So this voice is terrible. We all suffer from a different degree of this voice on any given day. So again, this like for me, when I was the strategy queen, right? I didn't stay with anything long enough, so I was pivoting all the time. I got to do more. That's what they're doing. This must be hot right now, so I'm going to do that. Like all of these things, right? So then so all of these voices, if you notice, they're pretty loud. So we're going to talk now kind of on, I don't want to make this a binary, but we kind of will. So now we're going to shift to some other voices that you may hear. And these voices, again, like in my journey where I'd be like, oh, yes, let me do it. And then I just kind of retract, right? And get reactive. This next group, again, not an all-inclusive list, is more of the expansive, the voices with the growth and the vision, right? So for number 4, we have what we will call the pioneer, right? So the pioneer is like, this voice will say like, oh my gosh, this is a huge opportunity. Let's do it. Let's make a plan. Let's get it done. Like we should have let's do this. Like I'm super excited about it, right? This voice is the one that wants to take, the calculated strategic risks. This is the one that wants to do something in uncharted territory, be the first one to do the thing. Like this has to work. This is so awesome. This voice is excited. This voice is empowering. This voice is not yelling at you. This voice is just, we got to do it. This is so great. This is exciting, right? Then number 5, we've got, this one can have so many names. Today I'm going to call it the wise one. Okay. So this is like your inner coach, your mentor, the one that's like, yeah, you know what? Zoom out, make an informed choice. You got this, right? You can build sustainable income. You can make this work for you. You've got this. This one is like got the foresight, very wise, right? So the wisdom, very empathetic, holds the urgency sometimes that we feel on the other side with the other voices. It's like, you know what? We're focusing on long term strategy, not the short term fad stuff. We got this. Like, you got this. Just keep going, keep going. Again, voice is not super loud, but it's very empowering, very motivating, very wise, looking at the big picture. And then the last one, I couldn't decide on a name. So we're going to give it two. Yeah, we'll give it two. And one was creator, but then I was like, really, like for me, when I think of this voice, this is like the visionary. So maybe we'll just call it the visionary creator. That voice is, will say things like, how can we solve this issue in a completely different, say, original, novel way, something that hasn't been done before? This voice is like the innovative, authentic. It's just really like, yeah, like what can we do that's different? Like we're so unique. Like what else can we be doing? How can we be like better, yeah, better than the rest? Well, be like the go-to person, right? How can we do that? How can we do things differently? What sets us apart from everybody else, right? So that's like the vision. I like that. We're going with visionary creator. So as you can tell, there's kind of like two opposites on this like kind of spectrum that we have. There's definitely more voices. These are really to like paint the picture for you. So there's a lot going on here. And at any given time, especially when we are doing something new, or we are expanding our business, or we are trying a new strategy, or we are just, maybe you're fresh to the game with entrepreneur and like you're going to do like, going to bet on yourself. Anything that we have never done before, especially these voices are like competing. They're almost fighting. Like it almost feels like you're fighting yourself. And in a way, you kind of are because you've got these different voices telling you different things. Like you've got the mentor, the wise one, then you've got the one screaming that's comparing you to everyone else and going, oh my gosh, this is awful. Like, who are you to do the things, right? And they're all, but you have to understand that you can't pay attention to all of these different voices. So what ends up happening is you've got to, well, A, be aware, then B, be selective of which voice you're hearing, and it does that align with what it is that you want to do. Because just because you're thinking a thought or you're hearing this voice that's like, gosh, you know what, that's not really a good idea, and you're starting to feel conflicted or you're starting to doubt yourself, you can sit down and have an advisory board meeting with yourself. And you're not crazy. Okay. So the reason is there all of these voices are you. And some of these are trying to protect you, right? Because it's the ego. What is the ego's job? The ego's job is to protect you and keep you safe from that saber-toothed tiger that's not over there, right? So you have to kind of understand that it's just your nervous system. That is just, like, we haven't done the thing, or this is scary. This is not familiar. We don't know what to do. And then you've got the other side that I believe in myself. I can do the thing. Like I can do hard things. I can do new things. I know that I am more than capable of doing the things. So when you sit down with yourself in this CEO like advisory board meeting, you got to hash out whether it's usually bigger decisions, right? It could be small decisions, but you hash out some of these bigger decisions and ask yourself really great questions. So essentially, we're asking these voices, but like figure out what is holding you back. What is the underlying issue, concern, problem, the situation, right? So, what is the underlying situation, or what are the underlying like worries that say, actually, not the taskmaster, the comparer feels? And then go, okay, what could happen? What if this happens? Or what if all of this works out? What if it doesn't take as long as I think it's going to take? But then really hash out it's you making sense of things within yourself to help quiet this noise of all these other voices from your ego that are saying not to do the things, or that's a bad idea, or you're so far behind. Why are you not further than you are? That is all things that you dial in with yourself and really hash out, what are the true concerns that I have that is making me feel really anxious in my body? I feel really nervous. I feel really tense. I feel really stressed. Why is that? And then how can we, shift that? Like maybe you feel like you're not prepared. You feel like you maybe need a mentor, an actual physical mentor, or some training on how to do X, Y, and Z in your business. And then you feel more competent clinically to execute blank, whatever it is, right? What are the things so that you're not even pacified, but then you solve this situation and these feelings. And a lot of times it's not even like you end up having to execute something. It's just really like listening to yourself and then solving whatever um, feelings, questions, nervousness with yourself, because ultimately it's usually a lack of, trust, belief, not an actual, you're lacking anything if unless it's like truly like a skill based, like truly want to like learn a little bit more about a particular skill. It's really just dialing that back. And then the fastest way to gain that confidence and that competency and ultimately that self trust is by doing. So that's what I talk about. You feel the fear and you do it anyway because sometimes you can't jump over the fear. You can't hop on the other side until you do the thing. And usually the fear is only because you've never done the thing before. You haven't done it yet. That's the only reason that your body thinks that there's a saber-toothed tiger over there ready to eat you. It's not there. It doesn't exist, but your body thinks it exists. So that is where all these voices and this competing noise and voices are coming from. So that's when you have what I call that CEO advisory meeting with yourself, no matter what it is. So it could be like you want to niche down. It's like you want to pivot your business, you pivot your career, whatever it is for you. When you offer a new strategy, all of the things, you sit with yourself because it's always you versus you. So all of these are you. You are not crazy. You are not, you don't have multiple personalities, although sometimes it may just appear that way because they're a little scattered. And that's okay. But you're getting the tools to learn how to, really listen to yourself. So I would love to know which one of these voices resonates with you the most, the one that you feel like you hear the most. Feel free to comment that below. I really hope that you found this helpful. Maybe let me know if you do a CEO advisory meeting with yourself. What was the topic or what was the result? What did you decide? Or what came up for you that maybe you didn't even realize was the actual underlying um, situation. I'd love to hear it. So comment below, like, follow, share, subscribe, all of the things that really helps push this video out to everybody that could benefit from it. And I'll link below. Feel free to take my Are You the Bottleneck quiz to find out who or what is slowing down you and your progress. And I'll see you in the next one.